All right, boys, I'm back with another video today. Today, we're going to be ranking the worst fighters in the top 5 of every division. So, just to clarify, before you go run into the comments, every fighter in this video is obviously a good fighter. They're in the top 5, but we're talking about the worst of the top 5. So, let's get right into it. Starting off with Flyweight. In my opinion, Kai France. I know he just smoked Steve Erceg, but let's not act like Kai France is about to go and win a belt. I mean, come on. He can be out grappled by virtually anybody in the division. He also can be TKO'd by Brandon Moreno. And yeah, he lost to Amir Albazi, which I know was a robbery, but he still lost nonetheless. And yes, he just KO'd Steve Erceg, but everybody was overhyping Steve Erceg as like the world's best striker. So, Kai France, honestly, it looks like I can flick this dude in the ear. He'd fall over, although he would have definitely kicked my ass. But I think he's the weakest in the top 5. But I also would say him and Brandon Royval are interchangeable. I don't think Brandon Royval is anything special. He beat an unmotivated Brandon Moreno by split decision, which was still impressive, I guess. But Brandon Royval is not a great fighter in the top 5, and neither is Kai France. They're both great fighters. I just don't think they're top 5 material. But I guess for Flyweight, the bar is a little lower, so maybe they are. Now, let's move on to Bantamweight. Let's not waste too much time on Flyweight. Bantamweight, Corey Sandhagen. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Corey Sandhagen is 3-3 in his last 6. He lost to Umar. Pretty comfortably lost to Umar. And he lost to Piotr Jan. And he lost to TJ Dillashaw. Now, I know the TJ Dillashaw fight was a robbery, but making it that close against a one-armed TJ Dillashaw at 38 years old, it ain't looking too good. I think Corey Sandhagen's one of the most overhyped bantamweights. Like, he's not great. He's never going to win the title. I don't think he's an amazing fighter. He's one of the best strikers in the bantamweight division, but I just think overall he's been a bit overrated. Like he was comfortably beat by Umar Nurmagomedov, who had no top 15 wins. I know Umar's good, but Corey Sandhagen for a while, I feel like he's been overrated due to the what's it called? The Frankie Edgar flying knee. Everybody labeled him as like one of the most dangerous strikers, and then he will kicked Marlon Moraes. But dude, Marlon Moraes had no chin. And Frankie Edgar was like 39 years old, who also was losing his chin. So those knockouts, in my opinion, weren't all that impressive. Is Corey Sandhagen top 5 material? He's treading close, 3-3 in your last 6, and he just got schooled by Umar, who wasn't even in the top 10, or was number 10. So yeah, I think Corey Sandhagen needs to defend his top 5 spot in this next fight. Him versus O'Malley would be a fun fight. Him versus Figueiredo. Honestly, looking at the matchup, I think Figueiredo has a good shot against Corey Sandhagen. No disrespect to Sandhagen, but if Figueiredo mixes in the grappling, and just stays a step ahead, who knows? And Corey Sandhagen, everybody thinks this dude's young. This dude's 32 years old. He's getting up there. I know Figueiredo is 36, but Corey Sandhagen is getting up there in age. He's at 32. He's going to be 33 in April, which is in 6 months. So bro needs to get on the horse. He needs to get his beakers and test tubes, get back in the lab. I think he fights at the MMA lab, and string together a win streak. Come on, Corey. Show you deserve to be in the top 5, brother. But, yeah, that's my opinion on Bantamweight. Go ahead and call me a casual. We'll move on to Featherweight. I have Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez is on a 2-fight losing streak, still in the top 5. He was subbed by Ortega in his last fight. He was TKO by Volk before that. No shame in that. His last relevant win was over Josh Emmett, which Josh Emmett is a joke. He fluked his way all the way to the top 5. Or top 6 at one point, and got an interim title shot versus versus Yair Rodriguez. But yeah, Yair beat Josh Emmett, and then he had a fluke win, in my opinion, versus Ortega in their first fight, and Ortega subbed him in the second fight, showing it was a fluke, in my opinion. His last win outside of beating Josh Emmett and fluking over Ortega is Jeremy Stephens in 2019. Now, I think Yair is a good fighter. He's a good striker, but dude, he has absolutely no grappling. And I don't know what it is, if anybody else has noticed, but what is up with the featherweight division where these fighters like Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez, who don't really win and don't fight that often, fight maybe once a year, and they've been hanging around in the top 5, top 7 for like years, especially Brian Ortega. There was a point where he didn't fight over 2 years, and he just held the number 3 spot forever. Finally, Ortega has dropped out of the top 5, thank goodness, because he's not doing anything. He just got smoked by Diego Lopez. So I think featherweight's top 5 is starting to look a little bit more reflective of the actual best fighters. But yeah, Yair Rodriguez needs to defend his spot, or he needs to go. I don't think he's top 5 material. He doesn't have enough grappling. He's not well-rounded enough. And I think he loses to a lot of guys outside the top 5. So yeah, El Pantera, sorry, buddy. For me, you're not cutting in the top 5. Let's move on to lightweight. I think lightweight's obvious. Dan Hooker. Dude, as Renato Moicano said, we're talking about a turtle in the tree. How the hell did Dan Hooker fluke his way to the top 5 at lightweight? Lightweight, notoriously known as one of the most difficult divisions, and Dan Hooker, of all people, is in the top 5 because he fluked his way to a decision win over Gamrot. Don't get me wrong. Tattooed Dan Hooker might be a new mythical fighter. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Dan Hooker, though, he's 4-4 in his last 8. He beat Claudio Puelles, and he barely beat Jalen Turner by split decision, and then he just recently beat Gamrot by split decision, which very well could have went to Gamrot. I think Dan Hooker might be one of the weakest top 5 fighters in the UFC. No disrespect to Hooker. He's an amazing fighter. I just don't think he's anywhere near top 5 material. I think most of the people in the top 15 beats Dan Hooker at lightweight. But maybe he'll prove us wrong. Like I said, tattooed Dan Hooker might be a new mythical fighter, so who knows. But I think that Dan Hooker should take him up on his offer and fight Renato Moicano next if Moicano doesn't fight Paddy Pimblett. That would be a good fight to see. But nonetheless, I think Dan Hooker is going to slide out of the top 5 after his next fight. I don't see many fighters he beats. Call me a hater. I'm just pointing out the facts. So, yeah, let's move on. Welterweight's super obvious. Colby Covington. Oh, my goodness. Don't even get me started on... Actually, do get me started on Colby Covington. His last 2 wins are against Masvidal and Woodley, who are both retired. Dude, Woodley hasn't fought in the UFC since losing to Covington. And Masvidal in 2022, Colby Covington is 0-3 in title fights, no relevant wins. Like, he rarely fights. I mean, he should very well much stick to the poker tables and not fighting in the UFC because I don't think Colby Covington deserves a spot in the top 5. No shot. He doesn't fight often enough. And when he does fight, is very lackluster. I think his career has been very overrated by the 2 Kamaru Usman fights. I like Colby. He has some of the best cardio, but not much finishing ability. When's the last time Colby Covington got a finish? Against Tyron Woodley because he injured his rib? Outside of that, when's the last time he finished somebody? It's been literally probably 10 years since Covington got a finish. Maybe not that long. Was it like Max Griffin or something? It's been ages since this dude got a finish. So, outside of Tyron Woodley's injury. So, I think Colby Covington needs to slide out of the top 5. There's plenty of other fighters who actually fight in the welterweight division. Colby Covington realistically should be like number 8 or 9, maybe even lower. I know he just fought for the title recently, but it was an undeserved title shot against Leon Edwards, who's no longer champion. So, let's get the welterweight division moving. Let's do Colby Covington versus Ian Gary and let Ian Gary be in the top 5. Because honestly, at this point, I think Ian Gary smokes Colby Covington. And I don't even like Ian Gary, so not that it matters. But Colby Covington at 170 is not belong in the top 5, in my opinion. That's no secret. Moving on to middleweight. A lot of people are going to disagree with this one, so get your dislikes ready. Israel Adesanya. I don't think Israel Adesanya beats anybody in the top 5 at middleweight, and he's obviously in the top 5, fought for the title last. He's 1-3 in his last 4. I think Cal Barajo smokes him right now, if I'm being honest. I think if he rematches Whitaker smokes him. I mean, I think if he fights Dricus again, Dricus smokes him. And this is a lot of people, I don't know what it is about Izzy fans and Izzy enthusiasts. Like, everybody thinks this dude's like the best striker and best fighter ever. He's really not. He got dominated by Sean Strickland. He got pieced up and finished by Dricus du Plessis. Although it was close in some moments. I think he gets finished by Cal Barajo at this point in his career. Izzy just doesn't have the MMA grappling enough to fight these up-and-coming grapplers in the middleweight division. So, I mean, dude, I'd love to see Adesanya versus Chimaev. I think Chimaev would race across the cage, take him down, and submit him in like less than 2 minutes. But that's besides the point. Israel Adesanya, I think he needs to slide out of the top 5. I know he was champion for a while, but you're 1-3 in your last 4. At some point, we need to get these rankings moving. The UFC rankings are a joke. Watch Money Moicano's most recent video on why it's a joke. I mean, it's obvious, but yeah, Izzy doesn't belong in the top 5 anymore. A lot of people are going to disagree, but too bad. That's my opinion. Next up, light heavyweight. Jamal Hill. I'm sorry. Jamal Hill has 1 win in the last 2 years against a 42-year-old Glover Teixeira. And he couldn't even finish Glover. Bro, I know he beat the brakes off of Glover, but he went 5 rounds with a 42-year-old Glover. And then Alex Pereira, who's Glover's his mentor, comes back and avenges Glover's loss, which is hilarious. And Jamal Hill, I think that loss to Alex Pereira single-handedly might ruin his entire MMA career because he's going to be so delusional and so like caught up in Alex Pereira that he's not going to take his opponent serious. And I think he might get finished or KO'd. I don't think he beats anybody in the top 5 in his division. I think Alexander Rakic beats him. I think 41-year-old Jan Blachowicz beats him. That might be controversial. I think Ankalaev beats him easily, and I think Yuri beats him. And I even think, what's his name? Alex Pereira smokes him again in the rematch. So, yeah, sweet dreams. I think he got fast tracked to the title shot because the UFC needed a main event versus Glover, and he ended up beating a 42-year-old Glover. Shocker. But, yeah, I don't think Jamal Hill is all that great. Call me crazy. I just never saw it. So, Jamal Hill, slide him out of the top 5. No, don't slide him out of the top 5 yet. I think he can still be top 5, but I still think he's the worst of the top 5 in the light heavyweight division. So, yeah, let's move on to the last division, heavyweight. I'm going with Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades has been knocked out by everybody on the roster at this point. Dude's been chinned 4 times in the UFC. By Ngannou, by Derek Lewis, by Sergey Pavlovich, by Tom Aspinall. I mean, Curtis Blades, dude, I'm worried for his mental health and his CTE. Like, the dude, he gets so overconfident on the feet, and then he just gets KO'd. Like, dude, shoot a takedown. He also got out-grappled by Jelton Almeida when he's supposed to be the best wrestler in the heavyweight division, which I thought was hilarious. I know he TKO'd Jelton Almeida, but Jelton Almeida, like in the first round, just ragdolled him, which is hilarious. But Curtis Blades, I don't think he's top 5 material. I think Jelton Almeida, if he wins his next fight, should easily knock Curtis Blades out of the top 5, or even Sergey Spivak. Nah, maybe not Spivak, but yeah. I know heavyweight's not that strong. It's very top heavy, and a lot of them are blobs, but like, dude, Curtis Blades has shown time and time again he cannot beat the upper parts of the weight class. So, buddy, at some point, it's time to say you're not top 5 material. So, yeah, that's about it for this video. This was just my opinion on who's the worst of the top 5 in the UFC. Again, every fighter in this video is a good fighter. I'm just saying, what are the worst of the top 5? So, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And yeah, check out my channel and my other videos. I appreciate it. Thank you.